Hello, everyone. I know some of you are still connecting to audio, so I'll just give it 1 second here. So my name is Catherine from SEB Housing, and tonight I'm going to run the lottery for Ice House on the Parkway in Milton. And this is a lottery for 13 affordable condos. And I'll do the drawing in just a few minutes. First, just want to give you some background information on who applied, and all of this information is going to be sent to you in writing with an email later on tonight. But if you have any questions during this session, you were muted when you came in to the meeting to minimize any outside noise. This is going to be recorded. And if you have any questions, you're able to either type the questions into the chat function in Zoom, or you can unmute yourself and let me know. So just to give you some background information, so everyone who is approved for this lottery should already have their lottery application number. So that's in the form of a series of numbers. So in this case, it's between A.001 and A.063. That came in an email to you letting you know that you were approved for the lottery. So if you don't have that, or if you forgot it, please let me know in a message, because that is the number that is going to be drawn tonight and is also going to be listed on the waiting list that are populated after the drawing tonight. So your name isn't going to be called. It's going to be that anonymous lottery application number. So like I mentioned, 13 total affordable condos in this lottery. There were 63 completed applications, so there's going to be 63 households in the lottery. So to give you an overview of the applications we received, so for the 3 one-bedroom condos, there were 24 applicants. 10 of those applicants have local preference. And so the waiting lists for 2 of the 3 one-bedroom condos will have local preference, meaning that the households who qualify for local preference, so people that live, work full-time, or have children going to public school in Milton, they're going to have priority over non-local preference households of the same size on that waiting list, or on 2 of the waiting lists. We also have 8 two-bedroom condos. There were 43 applicants for those 2 bedrooms. There are 12 households that are local preference on that waiting list. And there's also 2 3-bedroom condos, and there's 32 applicants for those 3-bedroom condos, and 4 of those households have local preference. So I'll show you the order of priority on the waiting list in just a few minutes, so you can get a better sense of how the waiting lists are going to be generated after tonight's lottery. Back when you completed your application, you indicated and SEB Housing confirmed your household type, so either type 1, type 2, or type 3. So just keep in mind for the 3-bedroom condos, type 3 households are going to have priority over type 1 or type 2 households. And for the 2-bedroom homes, type 2 and 3 households are going to have the same priority as one another, and they will be ahead of the type 1 households on the waiting list. So basically what the Affordable Housing Program is trying to do there is to design the program so that households don't have priority for units that are larger than what their household might require. So applicants who need larger homes are going to have priority for those homes. So I mentioned the local preference as well. I do want to make sure that everybody keeps in mind that all households are going to have positions on the local preference waiting list, even if you don't have local preference. If you don't qualify for local preference, you don't live or work in Milton, you're still going to have a position on the, for example, 2-bedroom local preference list if you apply for 2 bedrooms, because you're just going to have a lower position on that waiting list. So when you're looking at the waiting list later on, you're going to see that your lottery application number is on more than one list. So there's going to be 2 lottery drawings tonight. I'm going to be using a website called random.org, and it's just a really basic website that is able to instantaneously sort numbers for us. So that's going to be the way that we're doing the drawing. There's going to be 2 drawings. The first is going to be the local preference drawing. I will include household application numbers for those people who have indicated that they live or work full-time in Milton. And there are 16 households that qualified in total for that. Then I'm going to put all 63 lottery application numbers into this website, and I'm going to screen share so you can see all of this happening in real time. So those will be the 2 drawings. And just to give you a sense of kind of what that's going to look like, I'm going to share my screen now. And this is just a demonstration. This isn't the lottery yet, but just to give you a sense of it. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm on the very basic website, random.org. This is what the web page looks like. If I scroll down to list randomizer, that's the function I'm going to use. And when the time comes for the lottery, I'm going to copy and paste the lottery application numbers into this rectangle here. For demonstration purposes, I'm just going to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've listed 5 numbers. When I click randomize, it randomizes the numbers. So it's going to be a truly random drawing. And really, it's just a randomization. So that's how the drawing is going to take place in just a few minutes when I actually put the lottery application numbers into that website. You'll see that. But just wanted to give you kind of a sense of what that would look like. All right, so just some other things I wanted to run through for you. So you're not going to know your placement on the waiting list during this call because I still have to sort the results from these drawings onto the waiting list. So the waiting lists are going to determine what order in which your household will move on to the next step in the process, which is to submit all of your income, asset, tax documentation to move forward to purchase one of these homes. So remember, when you applied for the lottery, you had just self-reported your income and got the mortgage pre-approval based off of your income, but you haven't submitted your income statements, pay stubs, that sort of thing to confirm and verify your income for us. So we need to do that. That'll be the next step for the top households on the waiting list. So later on tonight, you'll get an email from me that has the waiting list all populated, and there's going to be several households who are highlighted, whose lottery application numbers are highlighted in green. Those are going to be the households that it will be immediately invited to move forward in the process and submit their income information to SEB. So off of those waiting lists, we're going to invite a total of 39 applicants forward. There's going to be 9 applicants from the 3-bedroom waiting list, 24 applicants from the 2-bedroom waiting list, and 6 from the 1-bedroom waiting list. So you might wonder, why are we inviting 39 households forward when there's only 13 condos? And that's because we want to make sure that the process isn't delayed by households who don't respond, because that happens in lotteries. There's going to be people who don't qualify in the end, or maybe are no longer interested in purchasing one of the homes. So it's possible that you could be moving forward after this process and you submit everything and you're qualified, but we don't actually make it to your position on the waiting list. So a lot of, if you're further down the waiting list and you are called forward to the next step in the process, you are depending on people ahead of you to drop off the waiting list so you can move forward to purchase the home. But there's a lot more information on that that's going to be sent to you as well. And so just keep in mind that this lottery is really just one step in the process. And during the call tonight, unfortunately, you're not going to know where you are on the waiting list, but you will get an email from me later on tonight with that information. So you won't have too much of a delay. And so if after the lottery you are invited to move forward, like I said, you're going to need to get your income, asset, and tax documentation into us within about 10 days. Hopefully you've been able to take a look at the guide that was sent over to you, kind of explaining what information we will need, how many pay stubs, all of that. So that's the next step in the process. And if you're not one of the top households on the waiting list that has their application number highlighted in green, you won't be moving forward at this time. However, you could be contacted at a later date if a number of households ahead of you on the waiting list drop off. So if there's a lot of people who don't qualify or withdraw, then you could be contacted to move forward in the process. We've been told by the sales team that the condos are going to be available for occupancy immediately following the lottery and all of the applicant screenings that are needed. So there shouldn't be too much of a delay at any point in the process going forward. And then real quick before I do the drawings, I just want to show you again I mentioned the information packet has the list of priorities. If anybody has looked at that, it is page 14 of the information packet. And I'm going to share my screen again with you real quick, just to kind of give you a sense again of how these waiting lists are going to be populated. So if you were applying for a 1-bedroom condo in your local preference, you're going to have first priority on the local preference 1-bedroom waiting list. You're also going to have a position on the waiting list, the general, open, non-local preference waiting list down here. You just want to have priority on it if you're local preference. So keep an eye on these. This is how the waiting lists are going to be populated after we do the drawing tonight. And so what I'll do is you will be able to see where you were drawn in the lottery, see where your lottery application number was drawn in the lottery. I can, after I do the drawings in just a couple minutes, I can look your number up for you if you weren't able to see it on the screen. And you'll have a sense of whether or not you were drawn, early in the process or early in the list or later in the list. But again, you're not going to know until a few hours from now when I send the waiting list where you actually will fall. So I'm going to get ready to do the drawing here. If anyone has any questions before I do that, please let me know now. I'm going to go back to random.org and get everything set up. And I'll share my screen again, of course. All right, share my screen again here. So if no one has any questions, I'm going to go through with the drawings now. So this is just a spreadsheet of mine that I'm going to take the lottery application numbers from here. So I'm going to select the 16 lottery application numbers from the local preference list here. So these numbers all represent each of the local preference households. So I'm going to copy and paste these into the list randomizer function here. And this is going to be the local preference drawing for Ice House on the Parkway in Milton. And I'm going to click randomize. So that was the local preference drawing. Now I'm just going to take these and put them onto the spreadsheet so you're able to kind of see it a little better. And just give me one moment here. I'm going to do both drawings before I open the floor for anyone to have me check on their numbers. Just give me one sec here. It doesn't want me to move that, so I'm going to keep it here. This is the local preference drawing here. And I'm going to save this so we have the results. And now I'm going to do the general drawing. So the general list here has all 63 lottery application numbers. Before I copy and paste them, I'm just going to completely get out of this. And I'm going to do the general or the full lottery drawing now for Ice House on the Parkway in Milton. This includes all households who were approved for the lottery. So all 63 application numbers are going into this drawing. And that represents all 63 households who were approved. And I'm going to click. And again, I'm going to put these back on spreadsheet so they're a little easier to see. One moment here. See if this will let me do this now. Okay. All right, so I'm going to scroll through the results. If anyone can't see their number or has called in and isn't able to view the screen, then please just let me know either by sending a chat message in Zoom, or you can unmute yourself and let me know your lottery application number, and I will let you know where you were drawn on one or both of these drawings, either the local or the general. So again, this is a local.
Can I draw my number? I am the first one in the general drawing. 053.
Yep. So you're drawn first here. You're not on the local list.
Yes.
Yep. So that doesn't mean you're first on any of the waiting lists just yet, because I don't know, which bedroom sizes you applied for or anything, or if you have local preference, but just keep in mind that the final results will be the waiting list that I generate after this lottery drawing. But I mean, if you're first on a list or towards the beginning of the list, you should have a favorable position on the waiting list compared to any other household that has the same household type as you.
So today, after a few hours, I can receive the final results, right?
Exactly. Yep. You'll have an email from info@scbhousing.com, and that will be the email from me that has the waiting list attached to it. Yep.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yep. No problem. And you'll be looking for your application number. Okay. So question here, 39 and 47. Sure. So 39, you were drawn 53rd in the general drawing. And 47. You were drawn 10th in the general drawing. And I'm going to scroll down now as well because I realized I didn't do that. So I'm going to, this is the general list, and I'm going to scroll down so all 63 numbers are visible. And then I'll get to the chats. All right. So that was all 63. I'm going to go up to the chat now. I know that some of you are looking for your numbers. So number 32, so A.032, you were drawn 22nd in the general drawing. And you were drawn 9th on the local list. That was A.032. A.014, you were drawn 14th on the local list and 36th on the general list. 038, A.038, you were drawn 61st in the general drawing, not on the local list. 063, 8.063, you were drawn 10th in the local drawing, and your number was drawn 41st on the general drawing. A.013, you were drawn 28th in the general drawing. That was A.013. A.056, you were drawn 51st in the general drawing. That was A.56. A.025, you were drawn 47th in the general drawing and first on the local drawing. And so you're asking here, am I number one for the one bedroom? I don't know that yet. I have to sort the results onto the waiting list. But you do have the first position on the local drawing list, so you should be towards the top of that one bedroom list, the local list. Yeah. 023, A.023. You were 12th on the local drawing and 37th on the general drawing. A.034. Sorry, I just passed it. You are 43rd on the general drawing. 059, you were drawn 9th in the general drawing, not on the local list. So not on the local list means that you were not a local preference household, so you didn't indicate on your lottery application that you either live full-time, work full-time, or have a student in your household who attends Milton Public Schools. So if that's the case, that means that you're not part of the local drawing, but you will be on the local preference waiting list. You'll just have a position on the waiting list that is below the local preference households of the same size as your household. So if you're a type 2 household, you're going to have positions on the waiting list below the type 2 local preference household. But I guess I shouldn't have phrased it that way, where you're not on the local list, because you will be on the local list. You just weren't part of the local drawing. Anyone else that wasn't able to see it on here? I'm going to scroll down one more time just in case. So this is the general drawing here, which most everyone is a part of. So I'll scroll down this list, and then the local list only has 16 numbers on it. And like I said, you will get a email from me if you were a household who was approved for this lottery. You'll get an email later on tonight. It will come from info@sebhousing.com. It'll have a lot of the information that I mentioned at the top of this session. You know, how many applicants we had for each household or for each condo size, and next steps. And it will also have the waiting list attached to the email. So you'll be able to see exactly where you fall on the waiting list. Yep, so the local drawing number is also including the general drawing. So the program is designed so that the local lists didn't in the past have the non-local households on the waiting list. So there had to be a separate drawing. Now that the general households who don't have local preference also have a position on the local list, it doesn't really make sense that we have to do 2 drawings, but the program does still require us to do them. So what's happening is local preference households, when I'm sorting the results on the local preference waiting list, I'm going by these numbers. So number A.025, I will sort them first compared to other households on that waiting list. When I'm sorting the general list, like the ones that are listed on your screen now that I'm highlighting, those local preference households will not have the benefit of this drawing placement. I will go to the general drawing list and find that number here. It's confusing, but what's the difference between the general drawing? So everyone has a position on this general drawing. Everyone is going to have a position on the general drawing waiting list. Only local preference households have a position on this local preference drawing, but both of these are being used for us to be able to sort the results onto the waiting list. How many people will be invited from the lottery to submit next? So 39. We're inviting 3 times the number of condos. We're inviting 3 times the number of applicants forward to submit their income, asset, and tax documentation to move forward in this process. It's unlikely that all of those households are going to be eligible for the homes and are going to all move forward in the process. So if you're on for example, if you are looking to rent one of the 2-bedroom condos and there are 8 of them in total, if you're number 9 or number 10 on that waiting list, you likely will be moving forward in the process, meaning you're definitely going to be moving forward in terms of being asked to submit your information, but there also will probably be people ahead of you on the waiting list who drop off.
Sorry,
to purchase one of the homes.
sorry
Sorry?
for the interruption, but can I ask something? So
Sure.
the waiting list for the 3-bedroom You already specified one condo bedroom for the local preference and another one for the general one?
Yes, there's two 3-bedroom condos. I want to note, and I should have deleted this before we did this, before I screen shared this, but this number is incorrect. So if you're looking at your screen now, this is not the affordable price for the 3-bedroom condos. It is listed correctly on page 3, and it's
Okay.
listed correctly everywhere. I just want to point that out before I answer. So yes, there's two 3-bedroom condos. There's one that is considered a local preference
And one
unit
for general one.
and one for general, yeah.
Okay, and as I am the first in the general one, I have the priority to go forward for this one.
It depends. So if you're a 3-bedroom, if you're a type 3 household, you will have priority. If you're
I am
not a
type
type 3 household, then you won't.
I am type 3, yes.
Okay, so yeah, you should be at the very top.
I understood that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Yes, the lottery is over. The results are going to be sent. There's a question that just came in. The results are going to be sent to everyone, meaning the waiting lists that are generated after this. But if you want me to look up your lottery application number on the drawing list here, I can do that. Sure. So 046. You were drawn 35th in the general drawing, and you weren't a local preference household, so that's the only position you have there. So you were 35th. What's going to happen is in a few hours, I'm going to be sending the results to everyone. So it's going to be the waiting list, and it's going to be a lot of the information that I mentioned at the top of this session. So you'll have all that information. You'll know much more about whether or not you can expect to have an invitation from SEB to move forward in the process after tonight. Yep, just another number here. So A.045, you were 31st in the general drawing, and you were 8th on the local drawing. And then one more here, A.055, you were 40th in the general drawing. Sure. Anyone else before I get to work on the list? Have a message here. Okay, one more here. So A.062, you were drawn 56th in the general drawing there. Anyone else? Thank you all for attending. And like I said, anyone who was an approved applicant for this lottery will be getting an email to the email address that we have on file for you tonight. One more question here, A.019, you were drawn 6th in the general list. Yep, the general list just means a household that didn't have local preference. Some of the waiting lists are going to have local preference, and we need to have a second drawing for that. All right, so everyone can expect to have an email from me later on tonight. It will come from info@sebhousing.com, and we'll be in touch very soon. Thank you all for attending, and we'll be in touch. Happy holidays. Good night, everyone.